Thank you. They sent me an email today and said, hey, do you want to send your slide deck? And you saw how rough it was there that it even said add text. So I said to Ty, make it full slide so it doesn't show that I didn't add any text. I've never talked about a project or a potential startup this early before in public on a stage. I've talked about it, back where the beer is or something like that. But Ty said, do you have something that's really, really raw? And so I do have something that's really, really raw. And it's called SoCap Your Town. So it's our version of TEDx. It's something that's lightweight that can go from our flagship conference to all the towns and cities around the world that always ask, gee, I want SoCap in Istanbul, I want SoCap in Dallas or North Lake Tahoe or wherever. So I didn't think about really doing it until I got this email thing from Singapore last year. So let me go. It all started from this email, realizing, everything about my business model is wrong, and that email blast shows it. So if you can move on to the next slide, I'll talk about what we do. We do a convening that we call at the intersection of money and meaning. And we create intersections where you see valuable strangers and unlikely allies that you wouldn't have seen otherwise. And there's something in the way we do that everybody likes. And when they come to our events, they want that in their town. And we have tried to respond to that a couple different ways. We did a SoCap in Amsterdam, SoCap Europe. We did one in Sweden and in the Nordic countries, designing the future, which you can do in the Nordic countries because the present is, less scary than it is in a lot of other places. One of the things we did when we did in Sweden was really interesting. A couple of years ago, they said, in 12 years, we will have a problem with our safety net because we didn't fight in World War II. So we have more 90-year-old males who will cost our healthcare system more than we can pay within 10 to 12 years. And they said, well, okay, we have a lot of problems in the U.S. that we can't fund now. He says, well, I know, but we can fund all of our problems now, but in 12 years we have a problem. So we'd like to plan. And so I got to work with the Swedes and the Norwegians on, they plan, if something is 12 years away, they want to start planning to see what happens, now. And they have this big problem of they didn't kill the people in my father's generation. They didn't send them to war. Now it's a problem. So it's that kind of thing. But you can't do that in a scalable way. I didn't want to do that everywhere. So we wanted to do something where the thing I do gets, bottled up as a nutraceutical or a kit or a something. You could, with the thing I could do, you could write a book and you go to speaking to these things and you have a bunch of books in the back and you can be a traveling thought leader, and then you got to be sticking to that one message that's in that book until you do the next message and the next book. And that's not what I want to do. So I'm going to do this kit to create a SoCap kit and go one further. So what's in the kit? So we did a guy named Mark Beam and I, who's an interesting guy. What do I say about Mark? We did a map a long time ago. If you look at collectiveintelligence.net, that looked at the problems and the gaps and what needed to be built in this intersection of money and meaning, because the market is a tool we built and we want to put it back under our control. That's the simple thing, because we want to build a planet that works for my grandsons. And it has different things in it. It has the meta market map, gaps and bridges to be built. The thing we'll be looking at is everything under $2 million in investment, which is really what they call a Series A investment, 1 to 2 million. There's this huge gap between the accelerators, like Sarah Day has, which is one of the better accelerators, but there's a lot of them around. But there's a gap of between 250,000 to 750,000 and $1 million in these kinds of businesses where mostly they die in a way that they shouldn't, and we want to figure out how to solve that problem. And we want to figure out how to solve that problem, in an Asheville-like place, but in a Louisville-like place, and then how it's different in a Philadelphia-like place. So we have these impact hubs. They're co-working spaces. We have about 100,000 plus square feet of them. We own hubs in Philadelphia and DC and Manhattan, and we're going to pilot it there. And we want to figure out the things that are there There are market creation cards, asset mapping, food system, and asset and activation and funding cards around those things, as well as the sharing economy. There's pieces of infrastructure in the sharing economy. There's not a model HOA for your condo to allow you to have Airbnb in your condo. But we want to work with a nonprofit called peers.org to create that infrastructure. So it'll be food system, sharing economy, and all the different ways that you can fund things. And one of the great things about moving to Asheville and working with Sarah Day on her accelerator is realizing that venture stuff doesn't work everywhere. And in Sarah Day's really good accelerator, there were 12 businesses, only 4 of which could, by some imagination or stretch, fit into a venture model. And some things just needed a lending club of some local people who could take really low interest, and it's almost like a civic taxing of yourself to build the economy that you want to live in. Or it could be a way that you pool your giving together. And that's just what I think probably exists within the pool of entrepreneurs in Asheville. There's not that many that want to take it to the moon, and in the venture model, you want to take it to the moon. So I want to figure out what's the funding package that works for food systems, what's the funding package around the sharing economy, and then what are the ways that we can create intersections where you meet valuable strangers in your small town or local town where you had seen silos before. So we want to turn that into a kit. We have some people who are working on it with me to do it, and we funded it internally. And we think we've created this little fund to help us do what we do better and take what we do to make it bigger without, my principal goal is not taking me on the plane or my whole team on the plane. We want to find out what's lightweight and replicable that works in what we're trying to do. So we're going to start it with mashups and things in our hub in Philadelphia, particularly because we have cheap housing for people to work long-term on R&D projects there, as well as a bigger hub than we know what to do with, because we came in with a partner and they went bust, and we're trying to figure out, do we keep 27,000 square feet or do we sublet it? So this is a way to try to fill that space and build some hacker space where we can build something bigger than we can imagine. And then we have somebody who's taking it on the road to hubs in Zurich, Berlin, and Amsterdam this summer. And that's in our product development. It'll be real soft. It'll be, I can go into the product, it has to do with a meta map, a set of cards, and people that we're working with and groups that we're working with who do asset mapping, who do food system asset mapping, and who do GIS mapping tied to social causes and that kind of thing, like looking at why the trees are dying in Austin using GIS mapping, and where they're dying and where they're thriving, stuff like that. That's GIS mapping, asset mapping, and food system asset mapping, as well as figuring out the social currency flows. It sounds like all those things do make sense. They don't quite make sense together, and that's the stage this project is in. And Ty said, if you have something that's really raw, this is really raw. We have funding. We have funding, we have plausible entrepreneurs, and we have places to do it that are cheap. And so we're going to go figure out how to do it, gathering in Philadelphia, but then working with, we're hoping that through what Sarah Day and Alan Bush and Hayes are doing, the food system asset mapping could be, the module could be built here, because there's things about Asheville that work best about that. There's also the dysfunction about the endemic siloed nature of Asheville that makes us want to work more with towns like Louisville that don't have that. They have funders who are more open and who don't have secret meetings and don't have secret silos that they get you into deeper and deeper, and you don't know, other folks are not in those things. I mean, there is a way that Asheville makes it hard to do business, that we're trying to figure out whether we do business in Asheville or whether in this project we do it in Louisville, because there are funders who build networks better in Louisville, and there are multi-sector people who work better in Louisville than they do in Asheville. So there's the great virtue of Asheville is that my grandsons are here and my wife is here. But Louisville is actually only, half a day drive away, and it's a lot better place to do business because there's something wrong about the way Asheville does business. So we want to also analyze what it is that causes silos and scarcity to be endemic within Asheville. And we'll we'll report on that, and people will not like it. So we'll report on it in a safe way so that the powerful people can react to it privately, and then we'll tell the real people, or I don't know what we'll do to figure that out. But there's really a lot. Asheville's a very hard place to do business because of the way things are endemically siloed, and people don't talk to each other, and projects don't intrinsically collaborate in Asheville. And Asheville is Charlottesville, Virginia, and Louisville are much easier places to do business than Asheville because of, I'm not sure what, but some reason that we're going to try to figure out. So, thank you.